Let's stay. Okay.
I don't know if it will stay. Just start both of them though.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, I think I started mine. Did I start it?
Yes.
Okay. Hi everyone. I don't know if many of you are catching on that my phone actually totally shut off and then I had to restart the broadcast. So I'm on 2 Facebook Live videos right now. One through my account, and then I'm tagged in a Facebook Live from Ashley's account. So hopefully, if my phone decides it doesn't want to cooperate, then hers will still go. Basically, I answered. I addressed all the things that I wanted to say. I was just answering questions from people. So I was answering the question of if I'm going to be able to personally represent an individual who's opening their restaurant, who's opening their movie theater or their hair salon. I may be willing to do that, but I am only one person, and I'm really hoping that those other attorneys across the state of Michigan are going to step up and start fighting for the Constitution that they swore an oath to uphold. So, yeah, my goal will be to educate people across the state, law enforcement, prosecuting attorneys, government officials, business owners, individuals, just to educate people across the state about what the law actually says, what the law actually allows. And if I'm successful in that quickly enough that I could then still somehow have time to represent individual people, I will do that, but I just don't know. So I can't guarantee anybody individually right now that I can take on a case. How do we get a list of businesses that are open? Exactly. That is a good thing. I don't know. I'd be more than willing to put a tab on my website of all businesses that are open statewide. If someone wanted to volunteer to be the person to collect that information, so to keep up on, anytime you see or hear of a business that's open, go ahead and reach out to them, get some basic information, the location, the name of the business, what kind of business it is. The name might not be obvious as to what kind of business it is. So basically, if somebody's willing to put together information like that, we can do that. We can try to put that as a tab on the stopcovidchaos.com website. And I'm hoping that there'll be some people that will be willing to step forward and possibly manage their own website to advertise for those businesses, essentially to list them all. And hopefully so many businesses will be opening that they're going to, need to have different tabs just for different sectors of the state or whatnot. So anyway, it's going to take some people volunteering to stand up, to step forward and specifically volunteer to take on a task related to that. It's not something that I can track down businesses and try to do that. I just try to spread the word on Facebook or whatever when somebody sends me a message that says, hey, my business is open. Are we as citizens supposed to wait for, I think the question is getting at, are we supposed to sit around and wait for the government to tell us we have the right to exercise our rights? Are we supposed to sit around and wait for, should we be afraid of being issued these tickets or having our licenses revoked? Should you be afraid of it? No. Should you be prepared for it? Yes. But I believe the truth will prevail, and I believe the Constitution will be followed. You just have to have the courage to stand out there and exercise those rights. And know that you're not alone. I'm going to do whatever I can to help people be able to do that. But there are also a lot of other people, even non-attorneys, that are out there helping in ways that, would be too complex to even start to describe in a summary Facebook Live feed at this point. I can tell you, for example, the people that I've gotten to know in working with the American Patriot Rally group. That's the group that put on the rally at the Capitol on April 30th. Not the one this week, not the one I spoke at yesterday. It was the one they put it on April 30th, and they are the ones putting on the rally at Rosa Parks Circle in downtown Grand Rapids this coming Monday from 5:30 to 8:30. I can't even think of how many people we have in that group. Maybe 10? I don't know. At any rate, other than one person, I did not know any of the people involved. Any of them. I might have been Facebook friends with them, some of them, but I didn't know any of them except for the one. And it's amazing. When God wants something done, when He has a path for you, He can pull together the most amazing people. He can pull together people that have strengths in a variety of different areas and bring them together to become part of a team that can then accomplish the impossible, the unimaginable. So, at any rate, I don't know how many of those individuals want their names out there, so I want to start naming them by name, these wonderful, amazing individuals, just as the one example of a group of people that are there to support you in exercising your rights, are there to support you in opening your business. They're not the only group, by no means. The Michigan Militia, the different, branches of the Michigan Militia have been out to support businesses. Michigan United for Liberty group is out there to help support businesses and individuals. There's a lot of different groups that are trying to do that. You're not alone. I can tell you that you're not alone. And if we can get the word out statewide that you're going to open your restaurant or you're going to open your salon, I'll tell you what, we'll have you working like we've had Carl working. I think he opens at 9 and he's been working until 1 o'clock in the morning. Cutting hair as a 77-year-old, 9 a.m. to 1 a.m. I mean, he's doing that 6 days a week. Do you want that kind of business? Then open now and let us know and we can help you. So at any rate, can we bring a class action lawsuit against Whitmer? Sure we can. There's a lot of different things. I mean, there literally are so many laws and so many constitutional provisions that have been violated by the executive branch here in Michigan. There's infinite possibilities for lawsuits. I'm not a big advocate for unending lawsuits, though. I'm going to be honest. I think we need to do what needs to be done to get the job done, to put the executive branch back in its little, in its spot next to the legislative branch, next to the judicial branch, subordinate to the people, all of us. We need to get that done the most effective way possible. Does that mean no one should sue privately? No. Maybe it's going to take a private lawsuit to put those kinds of things in place. What about the people that have been injured financially or physically or in some other way because of these executive orders? Should they be compensated? Yeah, they should. But at some point, we're going to run out of money. I mean, we don't have a big surplus of money just sitting around right now, especially with the way that the governor has shut down, most of our businesses and opened up unemployment to people. The government doesn't have its own source of money. We are the source of the government's money. So when the government runs out of money, we're going to see an increase in taxes at the pump. We're going to see an increase of taxes on our property. We're going to see an increase of taxes at the sales tax or, in our, income tax. There's just going to be an increase of fees for licensing and, other administrative types of things. It's going to get expensive. So we need to do the lawsuits that are going to, we need to do whatever actions are needed to bring our government back to functioning according to the laws and the Constitution of the state of Michigan and of the United States. Whatever that's going to take. That may include lawsuits. We also need to recognize that people need to be compensated for their injuries. I would love to see some sort of governmental office established for the sole purpose of processing individual harms caused to people. Like if a business has had to permanently shut its doors, there's no amount of personal, payroll protection plan. There's no amount of a loan or grant through that program that's going to help them if they've had to permanently close their doors because of this situation. So, if a loved one, I know of someone right now who has a mom in the hospital and a brother in the hospital, and for different reasons. I believe the one has cancer and the other was in an accident. They might not make it. That brother, that mother might not make it. They might be, passing away, as we speak. Yet that person has been stopped from going into the hospital to even say goodbye to those family members. That's an irreparable harm. That's a harm like none other. That's a harm that is unforgivable. There's no excuse for it. And I'm not going to start debating people about the science and the data of COVID-19 because it's really irrelevant to the point of who is it protecting at that point. If a person is dying from cancer in a hospital and loved ones are not allowed to be with him or her, who is it protecting that those loved ones are kept out of that hospital? It's not protecting the person that's dying. It's not protecting the family because the family doesn't need that kind of protection. They have the right to make their own decisions. Having family members come into the hospital to see a dying loved one doesn't impact the rights of hospital employees. I don't even know what the argument is there. But at any rate, I would love to see some sort of governmental office, if you will, established for processing those claims in a way that does not take a lot of time or resources from attorneys, so therefore we don't have to pay attorney's fees for it. It'd be great if no attorney had to be compensated in the administration of paying out people who have been truly harmed by these executive orders. I have a lot more thoughts on that, but that's how I would like to see it happen. A class action by itself can be good, but it can be harmful because essentially when you certify a class, that class of people is essentially all notified. They're given the right to opt out. If the postcard is lost in the mail or the person just didn't understand what the card was saying and they didn't know they had to opt out, essentially that person is prohibited from ever suing for their own claim going forward. That puts the onus on the person who is not participating in the lawsuit to do something to protect their rights above and beyond what the normal statute of limitations and other things would be. So I'm not a huge fan of class actions for that reason. Let's see. Can privately owned business have the right to require that you do something like wearing a mask as a prerequisite to entering the business? That is a whole big conversation. There's a lot of different elements of law involved. The answer in general is no. For example, first of all, if it's a private, truly private thing, like if it is a, like a country club that no one is allowed to enter the premises at all without paid membership or meeting certain qualifications and however they've done it so that it's truly private, that, that's not a place of public accommodation. That would have a different set of standards involved. If it is a store, if it's Menards, if it's Meijer, if it's your local, small mom and pop grocery store or, nail salon or whatever. If it is even a place like Costco or Sam's where you have to have a membership in order to purchase things, those are still under the law. I didn't write the law. Under the law that written by other people, considered places of public accommodation. And as such, the general rule is no, you can't do that. In fact, many people who are not wearing masks are doing so because of some sort of essentially what would be deemed a disability, something that normally wouldn't be a disability, but when we're going to start imposing ridiculous requirements like wearing a mask every time you're in public, there's things like asthma or other things that, like I said, wouldn't ordinarily be deemed a general disability, but would be certainly a disability in the sense that it prohibits them from wearing a mask all day long. So in that sense, the provisions of the federal law on point, anyway, it's a big discussion. The answer is no. A store, a restaurant, a movie theater, any place of public accommodation, any place that is open in general to the public cannot require you to wear a mask. If it's something, I guess the easy way to say this is if it's something that was lawful before COVID-19, if there was somehow a way that an employer or, a store from the angle of a customer, a store was requiring you to wear a mask, like if you are a nurse and you're going into surgery to assist a doctor in that surgery, I doubt that it's just been common sense all these years that's required people to wear masks. I'm assuming there's some sort of regulation on the books somewhere that you have to wear a mask in that situation. Those provisions would still be in place. I'm not talking about stuff like that. I'm talking about rules that are specifically geared towards responding to the fears of COVID-19 and how that plays out in our lives in ways that we never saw people wearing masks before. That's not allowed. Can we recall her? Sure you can. And the law regarding recalls doesn't even say you have to prove that she's necessarily even done something wrong. I mean, that's easy to prove. The wording of a recall, I don't have the statute in front of me anymore, but it's basically something like it just has to be clear and factual. So it could be something as simple as on April 30th or May 1st, Governor Whitmer issued Executive Order 2020- whatever it is, 70 or 77, otherwise known as the stay-at-home order or something like that. It could be as simple as that. Simple and straightforward, period. Doesn't have to be a whole book. In fact, the lesser amount of facts that you have in there, the least amount you put in there, the better, because there's less for them to challenge. It has to be clear and it has to be factual. So did she issue an executive order? Yes, she certainly did. Now, people might read that and go, well, that doesn't give me enough reason to sign this petition. Well, then they don't have to. But I have a feeling that no matter how broad that sentence is on there that you have at the top of the recall petition, as long as it's clear and factual and it otherwise meets the burdens of the statute involved, if people believe that she's done wrong, they'd be willing to sign it no matter what. And if they believe that what she's doing is correct and accurate, they're not going to sign it. So yes, you could definitely do a recall. Isn't this treason? But come on, that's not a fair thing, because that could technically be like a 2-hour conversation that I just don't have the energy to go down that road at this point. What about our licenses being pulled by Laura? Yeah, so that goes to the point of are there going to be, is the governor going to continue trying to issue these emergency orders? Is she going to try to continue exercising this emergency power? And if she does, is the Michigan Attorney General going to try to keep enforcing this these executive orders based on this emergency power? Yeah, they're probably going to continue trying to do that no matter what. I don't know what's essentially going to be enough in the end to stop them. But in the meantime, if a part of the executive branch, if the Department of Licensing and Regulatory Affairs has unjustly removed your license, say, for example, you have followed every single other law and regulation on the books, and the only thing you are guilty of is being open for business, and it violates one of these executive orders, there's no legal way that they can pull your license and have that stick. Same as, you know, there has been talk of, you know, an attorney or two trying to come after me for essentially to attack my law license because I'm out here trying to do this, because I'm providing this information to people and providing this information directly to prosecuting attorneys and law enforcement. I haven't done anything wrong. I have the same First Amendment rights that everybody else has. It doesn't matter that I'm an attorney. I have those same rights. And I'm not purposefully misconstruing facts or law. I'm not purposely misleading anyone. I'm not inciting violence. I'm not doing anything that would curtail my rights to do so. Doesn't mean that those, you know, claims against me are not going to be filed. No, they might be. I don't know. I've had people that tried to fight me to take my license away for the most absurd reasons, and guess what? I'm still here because I didn't do anything wrong. So are people going to try to take away your license? Maybe. But if it's just solely based on these executive orders, these emergency power executive orders, then do what you need to do. Have your business open. You know, they tried to pull Carl's license down in Owasso, and as far as I know, he hasn't missed a beat. He's still cutting hair. It's because he has the right to do that. They didn't have the authority to pull his license for that. So hopefully that answers your question. Can we file a grievance against Whitmer? I'm assuming the question is relating to filing a grievance at the Attorney Grievance Commission for her law license, her license to practice law in the state of Michigan. Yeah, absolutely you can. There's so much here that demonstrates the clear violation of the oath as an attorney, as well as professional conduct, as well as, I mean, we could go on and on. Yeah, I think there's definitely enough there to do it. I would make sure it's factual, make sure that you are including whatever law or rule of professional conduct or statutory provision or constitutional provision you believe that she's violating. But you have the right to do that, absolutely. I believe that you can just go to the State Bar of Michigan website and kind of do a search in their search bar to find out how to do that. So, yeah. If everyone opens up, what can she do? Pull every license? Good point. If everyone's opening, even if we have one barber from this city and one restaurant from this city and one movie theater over here and one, amusement park or, like AJ's, where you can do the mini golfing and the go-karts and things, they open, if we have people all over the state, even if your fellow neighbor businesses are not doing it, your local businesses are not doing it, but you have people all over the state doing it, yeah, what are they going to do? Go after all of those people? I guess they can try, but I think it's going to show the ridiculousness of their actions a lot more quickly if people are willing to step out in courage and in faith and follow the rights that are given to you by God and cemented in our U.S. and Michigan constitutions. Follow the law. This isn't even civil disobedience, people. It's civil obedience. Follow the law. Don't be afraid to follow the law. Don't be afraid to exercise those rights that God gave you. The governor can't take them away. So hopefully, that's it. I think maybe we lost enough people when the video feed canceled that we didn't get any additional questions. Are we up and running? Yep. Are people able to see it?
Yeah.
Okay, so we at least have some people that have been able to see the second portion, if you will. But just a reminder, I'm going to try to answer as many questions as I possibly can, but I do get an insane amount of communications these days. So yeah, I'm going to do my best to answer questions on Facebook, and if you tag me in a post, if you send me a video, if you You know, tag me in a comment of somebody else's post. If you send me an email or text message or call me or stop me in, you know, in person if we're out and about, I'm going to do my best to answer you. Even if you have a concern based on something where you just don't think I'm correct and you want to be able to voice that thought, if you're doing so respectfully and not just out of a purpose of arguing, but you're doing so to try to engage in that civil discourse, I'm going to try to answer you too, just the same as anybody else who's giving me the high fives or congratulatory remarks. I believe the people of the state of Michigan need their voice back. So hopefully this answered all the questions to this point. Is this by any means my last attempt to educate the public on their rights or on updates in the law or the cases that have been filed? No, I'm going to continue day and night, 7 days a week, working on this for you. But like I said, I think it's kind of answered it for now. I would encourage you to stay informed. The one thing I can tell you is that because of all that's going on, I'm not going to go into the specifics of different Supreme Court administrative orders versus Governor Whitmer's executive orders, but in the end, what is happening right now is the Court of Claims, let me back up, the Supreme Court and the Court of Appeals, and even some trial courts across the state have their documents all available online. So if this case had been something filed in the Court of Appeals or the Supreme Court or, say, Ottawa County Circuit Court, the documents would be available for the public to see, and you could pull them off. You could see the Register of Actions, meaning all the different entries of things that have happened in the case. I would encourage you to try to stay up to speed, but unfortunately in this case, being that it's filed in the Court of Claims, which is essentially a function of the Court of Appeals that is acting under a lot of the rules of a trial court, you can't access any of the court documents online unless somebody else has posted it and shared it, but through the court system you cannot access the documents online. So ordinarily the public access mechanism would have been you have to go to the Court of Claims office, the documents where these files are held, or the office where these documents and files are held. And so this case that I've been talking about was through the Lansing office. It's held in the Michigan Hall of Justice in downtown Lansing. And so ordinarily you'd walk in, you'd go up to their office and you'd be able to look at the documents. But with the COVID-19 procedures they have in place, the public is not allowed to really enter the building and go up there. So the only way to access documents is if you submit a request. Can't do that online either. You have to do it in person without going into the building, or in by mail, and you have to put it in writing, and then you have to submit a payment of exact dollar amount that would be due for cash or check for the exact number of pages that you want. So yeah, there's a lot of chicken and the egg problems with that, but essentially it's super hard for the average person to be able to access any of the documents in this case. And because it's closed, we haven't been able to go and publicly participate in the hearings. But I would continue to urge you to stay as involved as you can and stay as informed as you can. And, you know, you don't have to take my word for it. Try to do what you can to read the statutes themselves or the constitutional provisions yourself, to read the documents yourself to the extent that you're able to do that. So I think I have two last questions. What's Whitmer's comment about health care? What?
What's Whitmer's comment about health code violated, which is why Carl lost his license?
Oh. Well, that is... It's right here somewhere. To answer that question, so the proceedings that were brought by the Attorney General's office on behalf of the local health department against Carl the barber in Owasso, they brought these proceedings to take away his license through the Department of Licensing and Regulatory Affairs, Bureau of Professional Licensing, the Board of Barber Examiners. Didn't even realize there was such a thing. Anyway, what's the claim here? I mean, there's all these documents. I don't know if you could see the documents and, from your view, but there's a ton of documents. There's some affidavits, there's exhibits, there's warnings, there's executive orders. There's a ton. Basically what they're saying is the governor has said it's unsafe for people to be in contact, which expressly violates our rights under the Constitution. But anyway, the governor has said we have that it's unsafe for people to be in contact because without even knowing if that particular person even has COVID-19, that person is putting other people at risk by merely being in their presence. And therefore, it is a huge health crisis and a health concern for a business, a non-essential business like a barber, to be open where people can be furthering transmission of this COVID-19 thing. That's the whole basis. That's the whole basis of what they're doing. So it's not that he's done, some additional things above and beyond that. It's tied to the executive orders. Merely, he's being unsafe because he's not following the executive orders, which are illegal and unconstitutional, at least after April 30th, that's for sure. Hopefully that answers the question.
And then, are the online petitions for a recall legal, or do we need to be signing the petitions in person?
So the way our law works in general, and I don't know which exact citation or statute it is, but when it comes to recalls, online petitions are not legal in general. I believe in one of the executive orders that the governor has done this year with her emergency powers, she did something to modify or amend signature, the requirement for the number of signatures that would be needed or the manner of having petitions submitted. I don't know if it necessarily pertains to recalls. Hold on one second. Child, can you just do your job, please? Because mommy's trying to help people understand what's going on. That's awesome. Guess what? That means you can go play, but put a t-shirt on first, okay? Because it's kind of warm out. All right. Sorry, guys. Now what was I answering?
Online petitions.
Oh, online petitions, yes. Okay, so I don't know if in her executive order things were, I know quite a bit of them off the top of my head, word for word, but that particular part, I don't know if it's if it allowed any kind of online petitions. I don't think it did, but even if it did, here's the thing. None of her executive orders have any legal bearing anymore. They have no legal authority. So even if in an executive order she modified that part of our state law, allowing an online petition to happen, that modification of the state law is not legally enforceable. So you have to stick with the state law as it is written. And the last I checked, online petitions are not, they can't be submitted. So the normal statutory process of doing a petition for recall or anything is it's on that paper. It's the legal size paper that's like stretched sideways, and you have 10 signatures, I think, that can fit on each page, and it has to be, I believe, somebody that's over the age of 18, who, I don't even think you have to be a registered voter to circulate it, but the rules for being a circulator of a petition are right on the petition itself. So definitely, I know there are petitions out there. I don't know at which stage of the process they are in. If the State Board of Canvassers has already approved the language of the petition, meaning, yep, you're good to go, it's totally approved, now you just got to collect the signatures and turn them in by the deadline. I don't know if it's at that stage yet, but certainly if you see a paper petition to do so, that's worthwhile. An online petition, it's not that it's not worthwhile, but it's not the legal procedure for doing an actual recall. It might just be enough to establish to the governor, like, hey, we've had 500,000 people in the state of Michigan sign this petition against you. Might want to pay attention to what we're saying. Maybe that would work, but hopefully that answers the question. Are there any additional questions that you saw come up?
Someone asked something about childcare. I can't find that question, though, and they asked if you answered the question, but I cannot find it anywhere.
child care.
Maybe they'll ask it again at the bottom.
I mean, I know there's some executive orders that have been issued. Basically, it's one executive order that was issued about child care services and availability that she's terminated and reissued, or rescinded and reissued multiple times, but it's the same main concept every time. I don't know, without knowing what your question is specifically about that, I don't know how to answer you on that. What I can tell you is that that order about child care services and the availability of child care services during this whole time, the whole order is null and void, has no legal bearing whatsoever. So none of these executive orders based on the emergency powers, none of them have any legal authority behind them. So you can ignore all of them.
Okay, non-essential can essential workers. How do non-essential workers get childcare?
How do non-essential workers get childcare? Well, it depends on if you're going with the playing it safe route, or if you're just talking about legally. Legally, you have every right to get childcare the way you would have gotten childcare as of March 9th, before the state of emergency was issued. Whatever legal procedures or mechanisms that you would have done to utilize childcare before then, the law says that still exists right now. In terms of if you want to play it safe and follow the terms of the executive orders that she's been putting out, I can't help you there, because I wouldn't want to advise you on how to navigate through following the orders that are not legal or constitutional. So hopefully that addresses that, but
that was it.
Were there any other questions?
No, not that I saw.
Okay. So thanks very much, guys. I'm so sorry that my phone decided to crap out during the initial explanation of what was going on in this court case with the legislature versus the governor's office. But hopefully I've been able to, in the 2 video segments, been able to answer the questions for you and provide you with some clarity about what is possibly going to happen and what the next steps would be. So thanks everyone, and get out there and enjoy the sunshine today.